for putting such dedication, your thoughts, your ideas, your experience into this. I would also like to mention that I'm calling from Treaty 6, homeland of Métis, and I really want us to also imagine how we can just follow Indigenous voices on social media, especially people with disabilities who also are Indigenous and have really great movements, I think, out there that we can be following well. And Jamie, I just want to let you know that we can hear you when you're talking. But I think it's so awesome that you've got your setup there too. Anyway, thank you and welcome, and let's get started.
Yes, thank you, Megan. So again, welcome everyone, and thank you so much for coming today. We are going to be talking about equal access to social media and technology with a group of self-advocates. We can get started with some introductions.
Hi, I'm Sharon. I'm from Regina.
Hello, my name is Dave from Regina.
Hello, and I'm Faith from Prince Albert.
I'm Jamie from Regina.
Oh, Leanne, oh, you're on mute there.
Sorry, I'm Leanne from Estland.
Yes, thank you. And I'm Candace Andrews. I'm an inclusion consultant, and I live in Swift Current.
And my name is Andrew Wist, and I am also an inclusion consultant, and I live in Saskatoon.
So why are we here today? We are here because CLSD is creating new policies that guide supporters of people with disabilities to have equal access to technology and use it safely. I think it is important to point out that nothing changes without an online presence and movements anymore. There needs to be space, room, and representation online for all groups and all people. Social movements are online, and not allowing a group access is holding back any social progress that group can make through self-advocacy by removing their perspectives from society and putting them at greater disadvantage when they do get access. But aside from social change, technology is a part of our culture and everyday lives. And without it, you are denying access to full participation in our lives. So our goal today is to get a better understanding of how these policies make a difference in the lives of the people they affect, and to hear self-advocates discuss their thoughts and feelings on social media and technology based on their lived experience. So although we believe in them, we're not here to discuss policies, but we are happy to have a discussion on policies later if you want.
More of our goals today is not to criticize, but to come together as people with lived experience and supporters to educate, to share experiences, and to make things better. We really do want this presentation to be about bringing people together. We recognize that people in direct care are there because they want to help and they value people. And we also recognize that resources, staff, and time are in short supply. We want to help bring perspective to these new CLSD policies and are here as an organization if you want more support in understanding or actualizing these guidelines. And our final goal of the day was to create as an accessible experience as possible for everyone. This was really important to our panel of self-advocates. And so we are going to try to do that today by including the live Zoom transcript at the bottom of the screen. We did activate this at the beginning, but if it doesn't show up for you, you can activate it yourself if you choose by hitting the captioning button at the bottom. We also have this PowerPoint so that our ideas, our thoughts, and points are highlighted and easy to follow along with. We've been talking about this for some time and with a lot of depth. And so we've included some points that we don't have time to speak to today, but wanted you to have available for you to see as well.
Rosemary, can I see you for a minute?
We also wanted to keep the PowerPoint in plain language and keep that PowerPoint easy to read with our text and background choices. We are recording this presentation, which means it's going to be available if you wanted to go back and rewatch sections later as well. And if you're watching this and have ideas on how we can make it more accessible, we're very interested. Please let us know.
Yeah, thanks, Andra. So one of the first questions we talked about with the panelists were, how does access to technology affect your social life? And some things we discussed were that it makes it easier to talk without having to physically travel, that it helps staying connected with friends and family, that it allows access to dating and relationships, and that COVID made this more important than ever. So Shar, do you want to start us off with talking about how access to technology affects your social life?
Well, I have family in Calgary, Saskatoon, and Moosomin, so being able to FaceTime them and text message with them and just talking to them over FaceTime is very important to me, because I'm not able to travel unless somebody picks me up and takes me to those places where I would like to go outside of Regina. So having FaceTime and text messaging really helps me.
Yeah, thanks, Shar. And Dave, what about you? How does it affect your social life?
I got a sister and her family. Saskatoon, and I got a friend in Saskatoon, and I got a friend in Edmonton Hospital. I got a cousin in Surrey, BC.
So you have friends and family in Saskatoon, a friend in Edmonton, and a friend in Surrey, BC that you use your technology to connect with. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Faith, what about you? You, during COVID, your family used technology. Do you want to share with us?
So during COVID, my family, once or twice a week, we would have family game night, play some games, and still be able to stay connected.
Yeah, awesome. And Jamie, what about you? How does access to technology affect your social life?
Well, it is a help to me sometimes. And when I say that, I use that term loosely because it has good points for me, because I'm like Shar, traveling is very difficult for me, even though I just want to get up and go. It's very difficult for me. So I end up trying to, like, participating in these meetings, for example. I need the support to do it. And, sometimes the support is not always available. And like, I spend a lot of time by myself if I'm on the computer screen. Although I've discovered recently that it is getting a little bit easier with my voice commands.
Yeah, that's a wonderful feature to help you connect.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And I know you had mentioned that you really want to use technology to connect with friends and family, but that it's a challenge for you. Is that right?
It is very much, very much.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing, Jamie. And what about you, Leanne?
I have family that live in Calgary and family that live in the States that I like to keep in contact with through FaceTime or Messenger. Other phone meetings too.
Gotcha. So you also connect with family and friends using FaceTime or Messenger. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
Thank you. So another question that we've asked our panelists here is how access to technology helps you connect with the world. And we talked about this a lot, and ideas that they had come up with in our talks with this was that it helped them access news, it helped access to information like recipes, it allowed them access to committees, meetings, and advocacy work that they do, but also fun things like entertainment, such as movies, shows, and sports. We've had so many sports conversations as well, of course, and also just YouTube channels and other videos and social medias to just relax and decompress at the end of the day. And so Shar, can you share with us how you use technology to connect with the world?
Sorry about that.
No worries.
If I miss the news, I can go onto my phone and see what's been happening in the world. And share my advocacy that I've been doing through inclusion. I search for the videos after we finished with them, and then I send them off to my friends, my family, and just let them know what I've been up to in the last 2 years.
Absolutely. And you are a Riders fan, hey?
I am. I am. And I have their app downloaded on my phone, so I get to stay connected to see what's been happening. And right now they're doing a lot of signings for new players and staff for next season. So that's interesting to find out who they're bringing in and get to know some of the players.
Apologies there. Yeah, thank you so much, Shar. And Faith, maybe not so much Riders on your end, but hockey is your sport, hey?
Hockey is my go-to. My two brothers grew up playing hockey, so I would be at the rink probably every day watching them. So, hockey is just my go-to thing. I have Raiders season tickets, and I love watching the NHL hockey on TV when I can.
Awesome. And do you have anything like an app to help you connect with that as well?
Yes, I have the NHL app and the Raider app, so I can, if the Raiders are on the road, I can still follow on the app and watch them play.
Awesome. And you don't just have apps for just hockey, you use like TikTok and other social media too, hey?
Yes.
Yes, awesome. Thank you so much, Faith.
So another question we discussed was, if your access to technology was taken away, how would it affect your life? And some responses, some conversations we had were that they would feel sad, annoyed, upset, like Jamie touched on, lonely, left out, and even scared, that they would lose access to information and help like Google, that it would cause a loss of independence in being able to connect with family and friends, that they would physically have to visit family and friends. But as we all know, for people with disabilities, transportation is a huge barrier, and it may prevent that connection from happening. We talked about lost social opportunities and that communication would be really difficult outside of the home. So Shar, do you want to talk about your experience with transportation issues and how your access to technology helped with that? You're on mute there.
I would every time. There was a time I was at a mall here in Regina, and I waited for paratransit to come to get me, and they weren't showing up at the door that I had originally requested to pick up from. So I phoned or I was trying to get to the payphone in the mall, and I couldn't access the payphone because it was, I couldn't get close enough to it. And I didn't feel comfortable going into one of the stores and asking if I could borrow their phone, because when you phone paratransit, you never know how long you're going to be on hold. So I didn't want to tie up somebody else's phone. So I was grateful that I had my cell phone to phone them and to find out that the driver that was to pick me up went to the wrong door. So I ended up being stuck at the mall for another hour, longer than what I was originally supposed to be. So that was a challenge.
Yeah, and if you didn't have your phone, you're like without being able to access a payphone in your chair, that would have been really an even bigger challenge. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yes,
Yeah.
it would have been very big challenge for me.
Thanks for sharing, Shar. And Leanne, what about you? Do you use your iPad for keeping track of schedules and things like that?
Yes, I do. I usually put the Zoom meetings on my calendar so I know where they are. And the hockey team. And I kind of enjoy that. That I can
Yes.
see where they are.
That's right. Yeah. So if you use it to keep track of your Zoom meetings and your hockey schedule, and then if you didn't have that, could affect your attendance. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. What about Dave? Do you use Google Calendar, right?
Yeah, I use Google Calendar for my work schedule.
You use Google Calendar for work and volunteering, right?
Yeah.
And without access to that, it would be pretty difficult to keep track of, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely. So in this committee, we have a social media committee, and there was a group of us having conversations about these things together. Leanne, do you want to share what a fellow self-advocate asked that we share about when he had his phone taken away?
I can't remember how his phone taken away, and he's good call his girlfriend. This made him sad and upset. So he wants to us about it so we can make it feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. So another ICANN member who lived in a home with supports, he had his phone taken away and he wasn't able to communicate with his girlfriend, and it really affected his relationship negatively. And he came to our group for support with that. Thanks for sharing, Leanne.
Yes, thank you all. So another question that we asked was, what do you think supporters should do to help people use technology? And we had a lot of conversation around this, and some of the ideas that they had was that supporters should have the knowledge or the skills themselves to be able to help people use technology, and they should also be able to be flexible and use more than one way to help a person access technology. They thought it was really important that offering learning and practice opportunities so that they could learn how to use technology correctly and safely, and to be available and open to answering questions and giving guidance if someone had questions. So, Shar, you had quite the experience learning how to use Zoom when we first all went online, hey?
Yes, I did. When we started doing Zoom and on our messenger chat on Facebook, the links were being put on the chat, and for some reason I couldn't access the link from there. So I asked Candace or Michelle to email them to me because I could access them from there. Because there's some meetings I have to be on Team Meets and some meetings, most of my meetings are on Zoom, but I work with both platforms, so.
Absolutely. So not being able to access that link through the chat and having Candace and Michelle, who's the other ICANN host, really helped you have access to those, hey? And it would have been a barrier if they were just insistent that you figure it out with the chat, hey?
Yeah, so it was, I appreciated that they were willing to email the group. And so people that couldn't access from the chat, they could access from their email.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, Shar. And Jamie, we had talked about the support challenges that you have in using technology. Would you like to share?
Yes, I do have quite a lot of issues with it, even though it is very handy. But you know, I'm really finding that it's difficult if I have to set up the iPad, turn it on, do this, do that. Like, I mean, there always has to be somebody with me and around here. It can be quite difficult. I mean, I get things done, but it takes time. And like I was saying to Candace on our last little gathering there, I said, you know, I hate to say it, but I said, this is one of the reasons why I want to make the move that I want to make, because there has to be more support somewhere for me that would be doing this sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Like we came up with the idea of putting Zoom instructions up in my bedroom. Well, sure, but I mean, if I run into somebody that doesn't know how to do it, then I end up missing the meeting, and it's very difficult.
Absolutely. And to just provide a little bit more context, the extra support that you need is physical support in like pushing buttons and holding things and physically manipulating the phone to do what it needs to do. So the support that you need does need to be there quite often, hey?
Yeah, all because of my darn neuropathy. That this is what caused the whole thing.
Yeah, and so having that support there is really critical for you to be able to access it at all, just from like a technical standpoint. And so
Yeah.
having supporters that know how to use it becomes really important because they're the ones that are doing it. Hey,
Oh, definitely.
absolutely. And then also that being available is especially important as well. It's all great if they can use it, but if they're not there because they're busy, it doesn't help you get on it anyway, hey?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing, Jamie.
And another thing we discussed is Candace and I thought that we are maybe going to have to look at possible funding in order for me to get these extra supports on a daily basis.
Yeah, so that's the other thing is that if you need additional supports, that's doesn't often just become available. Sometimes that takes extra funding, which means extra applications for that funding and a whole bunch of
Yeah,
extra, hey?
yeah,
And not to mention the cost if there's any special technologies that you need, hey?
right.
Absolutely. Thank you so
Like
much for sharing. Oh,
I've
sorry.
got a pair of headphones that I discovered that I can't really use on my own because if I'm wearing them, I receive rings from incoming calls, but I cannot get my finger up to the button that I have to push in order to answer.
Yeah, and that's a real barrier
And
in place,
I
hey?
had to go into the store to find this out. You know, that's why I was having the problem. And the fellow in the store said, well, you've got to push this button on the bottom of your headphone. Well, here I was trying to get my hand up like that. And, you know, 9 times out of 10, you don't feel where the darn button is.
Yeah. And so it's a real barrier for you to be able to use that system, hey?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your experience with us, Jamie. Thank
And
you.
it would, you know, it was really difficult because I went through the Neil Squire Society a few years back, and they came up with, in fact, it was Chandria and I, we came up with the sip and puff idea that, you know, I had this thing fastened to my chair with my phone on it. And, you know, I would try dialing with my lips through these straws. Well, it became awkward because every time I was having meetings with the fellow that would, you know, come over here, I was getting home late from the Saskabilities, and like this was just before the COVID started, and I was getting home late from the Saskabilities all the time, and he couldn't stay, and they wouldn't let him. Like, he even offered to me to come over Saturday mornings, and they wouldn't let him because they told me that he was funded for doing what he was doing with me, and I was never able to make it home, so they just ended up throwing out my apparatus that I used, which my sister helped me spin the $100 on.
Right. And I
So,
think
I mean, that was kind of a heartbreak.
absolutely. And I think is a great example of these barriers not existing in a bubble. If there's a transportation barrier as well as a technology barrier, that they can often intersect with each other, and where those meet and make those challenges more complex and difficult to figure out. Hey,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Jamie, for sharing your experience with us. Thank you. And so, Dave, you had to use Zoom and had some trouble with it at first. Hey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like everyone that work with used to have training for the before the pandemic. Well, we have to switch to Zoom like this, and I go, I don't know how to use it too. So one of the staff showed me how to use it, and now I can use it on my own.
Yeah, Dave. So you weren't sure how to use it at first when we were all learning how, and then one of your supporters showed you how, taught you how to use it, and now you can do it completely on your own. Hey?
Yeah, but if I don't delete the email first, like I used to do, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I
And now,
was so nervous. Yeah.
yeah. And now with like email and everything too, you're just all on your own and happy with it. Hey?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Dave. And Leanne, you also learned on your own, but you had some help too. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, if I didn't know how to get on, I would ask my cousin to give me a hand, but I tried it on my own too.
Yeah. So you, your cousin lives in Estevan as well, right? So having someone close by that could help you out in learning it and be available for questions was really helpful. Hey?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for sharing that experience. Thank you.
Yeah, this conversation about what we think supporters should do to help people use technology was a big one. It was a really big topic that we focused on. So we talked about if someone is not using technology appropriately or safely, that supporters should explain why an activity wasn't appropriate, to teach how to use correctly or safely, and give chances and opportunities to practice. And we also talked about that taking a phone away, it really just postpones the job of learning how to use it safely and appropriately. It's not going to solve the problem long term. It's not a long-term solution. So focusing on those learning opportunities and teaching how to use it appropriately should really be the goal. Leanne, can you tell us what you think supporters should do to help people use technology?
I think they should learn how to use it themselves, and then they can help other people learn how to use it. And if they don't know how, then they should go to the library or another support worker that may know how to use it.
Yeah, gotcha. So giving those, having the supporter have the knowledge so that they're able to share that with the people they support. You had also spoken to like, so if a person isn't able to use it correctly or safely, you had talked about some things that maybe that supporter should do.
Now, if they have someone that they didn't want somebody to see, they should, the supporter should know how to delete it.
Yeah, for sure. So we've all posted that cringy thing on social media. We've all done it and then immediately wanted to take it off after. So it's really important that if someone posts something unsafe or decides that they don't want it up there, that the supporter is able to teach them how to take that down so the person can do it themselves in the future. And Dave, what about you? So you had an experience on our ICANN Facebook chat recently. Do you want to share that with us?
Was I was on the ICANN Facebook chat. Usually I pretty good with Facebook, but I have a little trouble with this one. Like, if I want to move something, then the bump was right below the remove button. I jumped behind is not very good. I sometimes hit the bump, then instead of remove. So I've been trouble with that sometimes, not all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dave joined the ICANN Facebook chat and he didn't fully understand how to use it. So he was accidentally bumping messages, as he was saying there. And people in the chat kind of didn't understand that Dave was just learning how to use it. So there was some misunderstandings there. And so once, we were able to explain and Dave was able to explain that he just didn't know how to use it. And we've worked on, being able to use that and access it. He's able to use it effectively. But I think what's important here is that it's important for supporters to try and take time to understand the situation the person is in before making assumptions on their motives. So just to kind of go over what the important points were here, self-advocates discuss that it's important to have a respectful, private, face-to-face conversation about why something wasn't okay, that it's important to be willing to listen to the situation and explain the situation and circumstance fully. And it's important to take time to teach safer behavior and provide opportunities to practice that skill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our final thoughts to leave you with in this presentation was that every time that you are assisting with learning new things about technology, that skill set is going to grow and those skills transfer over between platforms and technology pieces. And that learning how to use technology is a skill that everyone has had to learn. It's not something that we're like born with innately. And so mistakes are going to happen, and to expect them and be willing to help as those mistakes happen. This is a learning curve that we've all gone through. I'm not sure how many other people in this presentation were teenagers when MSN Messenger was out, but if I can just throw you back there and just like remember all of the cringe that comes with that. And then as well, the learning curve that we've all done more recently on Zoom and other things with COVID, as we became more and more remote, but also relying on technology more and more. And there's famous examples of people having quite the learning curve as they figured it out. The example that we talked about was the lawyer who turned into a cat accidentally while he was actually in court in front of a judge and not being able to fix it and figure it out. So it's mistakes that we've all made, and it's important. We talked about remembering that that's a universal human experience, and that anybody coming into a piece of technology without that experience will have that same learning curve.
Yeah, absolutely, Andrea. So yeah, just making sure that we understand that mistakes are going to happen, and to be making sure that we're forgiving those and being open to take the time to teach the skills necessary to be online. What's really important here is that we make space for all groups in all spaces.
I forgot to mention that if you're new to getting onto something, just write your passwords down.
Yeah, writing down passwords and usernames so that you don't forget. Hey, perfect. Thanks, Leanne. So we did also want to open this up to questions from our presentation or from our audience. If you had any questions for the panel, if you'd like us to expand on anything, and as you are considering any questions that you'd have, I just would like to thank again this panel of self-advocates that we have here who have shared their time, their experiences with us, and this committee work has been incredibly rewarding, and I'm very grateful to have been a part of these conversations and experience. So thank you, all of you, for coming. And Megan, you have a hand raised. You are on mute, though.
I am. There we are. I also have some tech involved with my with myself. I use some hearing aids, and so sometimes they don't queue up quite how I want them to. Anyway, I just so enjoyed this, and I do wonder just about maybe if anyone can talk to how we can encourage other people to join ICANN, or what that process is like. I don't know, Leanne, you've been around for quite some time. You're a founding member of ICANN and our self-advocacy initiative.
Hello.
And maybe you could let us know a little bit about how people can join ICANN.
Second.
Okay. Well, if you want to join ICANN, you have to be 18
Okay.
or over. And you can get a hold of Michelle Fitzpatrick. She is the coordinator for ICANN. Or you can call the office and they'll tell you how to get a hold of her.
And what are maybe some of the benefits of joining ICANN? We heard a little bit about like the group chat. We know that there's Wednesday calls, but maybe if you can let us know a little bit about what it's been like to join that social media realm.
It's very nice that you meet new people every time you are together. You might meet somebody new. That's kind of fun. And you get to know them.
So just that there's always new people to meet, and that I really appreciate how everybody is just supporting each other to be involved and just holding space. It's such a cool opportunity, I think, for people. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, Faith, your hand is up.
So speaking of ICANN, this summer in August, we got together in over 2 years because of the pandemic. So it was great to see everybody in person.
That's a really good point too, Faith. We can't just exist online, and those in-person opportunities, like we also, I think, benefit from knowing how we can break down barriers in communities so that people can come together. Wasn't really possible during COVID, but
my screen there, dear.
oh, there.
Oh,
Goodness.
This
Hi.
one?
We
There we
have
go.
You're good now?
Yeah.
have the need to just make sure that we're able to see each other in community and do so as safe as possible. Shar, I wonder, just because you joined right before the pandemic and you became very involved with a lot of our presentations and social media involvement, including a meme campaign that we made last year. What was that like for you?
It was very interesting. I've been involved with inclusion since June of 2019. So just about, it was almost a year, I think, before the pandemic hit that I had started. So, and then we've been doing these meetings ever since the pandemic started. And it was, everything that we've been working on has been very informative. I've learned a lot in regards to my own personal life, and how to navigate through things, especially the platforms that I use for different meetings. I had never used Teams, and I was going into a meeting, and the lady that was setting it up, I had asked her if she would set a day and a time that maybe her and I could just do a practice run so that I understood Teams. And she was willing to do that with me. And we tried it once, and now I can do it without a problem. I was just, because I'd never used it, I was a little apprehensive on using it. So she was willing to set aside some time the day before the meeting that we were supposed to be in, and let me do a trial and error. So.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that just helps.
thanks.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Shar. Dave, what about you? You're a more recent member of ICANN. Do you want to share your experience of what it's been like for you?
Well, I forget when I joined you guys. Was it a couple months ago? And yeah.
You joined a couple months ago.
A couple months ago, it's been awesome because I get to hear you guys.
It's been awesome to have you, Dave. Yeah, I'm glad you've been such a really important part of ICANN in the last 2 months, and we're so happy to have you here. So thank you. And I think someone has their hand up. Caitlin?
Yes, hi. I just wanted to first I just wanted to applaud you all. I think that what you've done and what you are doing right now and taking this harm reductive standpoint is just so amazing and so important in this day and time. And I think just know that what you're doing is important, and we can see the change that you're doing. It might be small right now on a world scale, but I mean, it's huge. What you're doing is amazing. And I just had a question as to what's on the horizon with this, with ICANN and with, you know, using social media. How is that going to look in the future?
Great question, Caitlin. Do any of the ICANN members want to share some of the things that we've talked about upcoming social media presence?
Well, I hope that we can keep it going. I really do. But on the other hand, I also hope that things do get better transportation-wise, so that it is easier for us to travel when we have to.
Yeah, exactly. So technology is great, but being in person and making those connections is also really important. Hey, Jamie?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and transportation makes that really difficult, doesn't it?
yeah.
For sure. And as far as the ICANN on social media, actually, we've set some, we've talked about allowing self-advocates a platform. So we have a Facebook page and self-advocates where some self-advocates will have space to share what is important to them. So please go to, I can add the link into the chat as well here, but please join our Facebook page and yeah, like our Facebook page, follow us, and you'll see coming up in the next couple months here in the new year that self-advocates will be sharing, you know, what is really important to them and updates on our ICANN and things like that. Yeah, we're also looking into starting TikTok too. So that's one of our goals we've been talking about, really trying to make space for ICANN members to have that voice on social media. Haley, did you have a question?
I wanted to, so I'm from CLSD and I'm part of the group who is working on this package and making this this new policy so that everybody with that we support within CLSD can have a safe and positive online presence. And so I just really wanted to thank everybody for speaking up and answering the really important questions. This kind of, you know, this policy is coming out because we recognize that some people don't have the chance to be online that they maybe should, and that being online is no longer a privilege, it's a right, and it's a part of everyday life.
It
So
is.
I really want to thank everybody that came and spoke today, and for the self-advocates who lended their voice to this really important conversation, and to Andrea, Megan, and Candace for facilitating this.
Thanks, Haley. We appreciate that. That's wonderful. Are there any other questions before we finish up here today?
Well, me just having such a great interest in it all, Candace. Like, I'm really, really hoping that at some time in my life that I just become a full-time facilitator with you all, because it's really what I want to do.
Yes, Jamie, your lived experience is just so important, and the way that you lend your voice to these issues and speak to things that you live every day is just essential, and we're so grateful to have you speak to those, Jamie. Thank you.
And by doing this, you know, I can almost say that it's taken this long, but at 68 years old, believe it or not, I found my job.
That's wonderful, Jamie. We do have another question in the chat here. Kirby asks if there are any plans for another meme campaign. The last one was so fun to see. Great question. I don't know, maybe that should be in our future. What do you think?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you again all so much for being here. Thanks. Like Andrea, you know, I'll just reiterate what Andrea said. Just thank you so much to the self-advocates that were part of this. It's been a joy, an absolute joy. So yes, happy holidays to everyone. And unless there's any more questions.
Candace Bayshore did call me during the meeting here. And
Gotcha. We'll connect right after this, Jamie. I'll call you right after this and we'll talk about that, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Wonderful.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks for sharing your stories. Take care. Bye-bye.